Monday to y'all. Back on the road again, except this time I'm caging it. So I'm in the Toyota today, on my way to my normal run through the Valley universe. And I think today's route I'm going to try to do a little bit of modification to the route. Usually, as usual, I will start in Studio City, but I think what I'll do is I'll probably go to Northridge and then return to Studio City and then finish off all the stuff in Pasadena. So I think I'm going to try to knock this out as quickly as possible, as it's still hot. The check temperatures in Northridge said they were going to be hitting in about 94 today. I'm trying to avoid that. Currently, I do have my sweater on, but as soon as I get to Chatsworth, that thing comes off. I was last Monday when I was there. By the time I made it there at 9:30 in the morning, it was already 89 degrees, and I'm going, okay, that's definitely going to set the tone for my outings today. So I'm going to find that quite entertaining. Anyway, so yeah, last night I came back from my vacation. I guess you could call it a vacation, although some people think I'm just nuts. But I was gone from Tuesday to Sunday, and I was up north in the Northern California region, mainly just hanging around the Bay Area and Sacramento, and riding my motorcycle through basically all of creation while I was up there, doing lots of circles. It was a lot of fun. In the end, I ran a total of 1,500 miles through all of this from start to finish. And so Tuesday, I started out leaving about 6:30 in the morning, and I basically took the entire, I-5 all the way up to Petaluma, which starting at 6:30, I got there around 2, mainly just because I took about a 20-minute detour to Gustine, Santanella, for a quick cup of split pea soup from Pea Soup Anderson's. So that's what caused the delay for that day. So yeah, Tuesday was pretty much homework. And by the way, if you do log on to my blog at twolittletourist.net, I do a bit of a photo recap of all this stuff, yeah, so that should be fun. But yeah, Tuesday was mostly homework, and then heading down to San Rafael, which is the 101 and 580, basically, and having some lunch with some old friends from high school. That was cool. Wednesday was my ride into San Francisco. I spent the entire day in the San Francisco city proper. That was entertaining. I got some really great pictures, and also did a little bit of a scenic route getting into entering San Francisco. I didn't take the 101 directly, so that was a lot of fun too. So that was Wednesday. Actually, no, that was Thursday. Thursday was San Francisco day. Friday, this is where my mileage started piling up. So to start, I mean, I was looping around Petaluma. So the Thursday trip, I went from Petaluma to San Francisco and back. That's about 100 or so miles. So there's that. And so that's about 200 round trip. And then I decided, sometime on Wednesday to call ahead to the Corbin factory in Hollister and see if they could redo my seat while I waited, because I knew they did the service. And they were able to fit me in for a Friday slot early in the morning, as long as I got there between the hours of 8 and 9. So Friday, I rode from Petaluma, and this was also the beginning of my hockey tournament that I also threw in. I left at 5:30 in the morning, rode 120 miles down to Petaluma, had my seat done. Hey! Cool. Well, unfortunately, I'm back home, Nancy. I'm back home and working, so I'm in a cage, not on the bike. But as I was saying, with Friday, I was riding, as I rode to Hollister, south to Hollister, so I took the 101, passing through San Jose, and it was about 120 miles south, and then after that I had to ride all the way up to Sacramento. No worries. No worries. But yeah, so that was a very long day. That was probably over 250 miles. Made it to Sacramento. After that, I had to take a quick break at my friend's house up in Sacramento, and then ride across the 80 to Vacaville. Now, good news is for my first game, because I had 3 games and it actually became 4 because surprisingly we ended up in the championship game. Oh, I appreciate, yes, I'm having fun at this work, I can tell you that. I know. Yeah, I'm having more fun at this work. I like this office, it moves, and I can have fun and smile and stuff like that. But yeah, so on Friday was crazy because that was the first of 3 games that later became 4 at this tournament that I was playing in Vacaville. So my teammate brought up my hockey gear. I rode over. For the first game, though, my friend drove me, so we drove from across I-80, which it happened to be on Friday afternoon, so I-80 is, it's, I-80 is horrible. You know, and I remember 80 being horrible here in California and in Cleveland, so this is not new. Anyway, we get there, I play the game, I post the 2-0 shutout, that was really cool, and then go home. The following day, we go have some breakfast at a nice restaurant that belonged to a friend of my friend, and really good country fried steak. I enjoy it very much, right? Really, really tasty country fried steak. End up talking, meeting another friend of hers, and then we're just like chatting and talking bike and stuff. And I'm like, okay, I gotta go get on the bike and I gotta go to Vacaville for my 12:30 game. Anyway, needless to say, I'm following my friend. She's on her motorcycle, you know, leading me to get back on 80, and I completely like blank out and get lost. It's like probably the most like boneheaded gaffe of my entire trip. I get lost, and I'm realizing, oh no, if at this rate, I'm going to possibly run late to my game. So I had to do some Google Maps tomfoolery, and I was able to make it work. I got back on, and here I am, like riding through. I think I took a detour through like 5 and parts of Davis, and there were sunflowers and lots of bumblebees involved. It was really, really ridiculous, right? And then while I'm riding, I get a text from my teammate because I can see it on my phone because of the way it is. You know, it's okay because you know, I have Google and I have cell phone service, even though I'm in the middle of basically, you know, farmland and everything else. Anyway, I take this detour and end up somewhere on like California 116 and Country Road 27 somewhere near Davis, and then I end up on Interstate 505. It was the most random thing ever. And then I get a text while I'm on my bike telling me that the game got pushed back by 15 minutes. So I was able to go back down to the speed limit. And as soon as I got to the rink, I had more than enough time to dress. We ended up losing that game. I forget by how much. It was 2-1. I think we lost that game. And then we had another game at 5, so I just decided to chill, you know. So my friend came back again, the one that was in Sacramento. She came back with her dad to watch that game and brought my beach chair with me that I had strapped to the back of my bike when I left at the house. And so between games, because temperatures outside had reached over 100 degrees, it was probably like 102, 103, I set up this camping chair and next to my bike, because I parked it, you know, just to the side on the in the corner of the parking stall, and I just set up this yard sale style drying rack where all of my gear completely dried before I made it to my next game at 5 p.m. And so 5:30 actually. So the game got pushed back 5:30. So while my gear's drying inside, I'm outside. I'm inside the rink using their free Wi-Fi and blogging and starting, you know, writing up all my stuff and you know, catching up on email, homework, all that fun jazz, because, you know, reality doesn't seem to want to leave me at times. And so I'm killing time until about the time where I had to bring all my gear in from the drying rack outside and dress up. And we play the game at 5:30. We win 5-2. Of course, our fate is kind of like up in the air. We don't know if we made it to the championship game or not. The formatting for this tournament was super weird because in our division we had 6 teams and there was no playoffs. It was basically the top 2 seeds at the end of the 3 games we're going to make it to the championship game on Sunday morning at 9:30. So we're thinking, okay, we have to be like, originally we were thinking we were mathematically eliminated because of our one loss and then possible issues with goal differential. And it turns out because of scoring, we scored 5-2 in this last game, so we scored 5 goals in the first game. And, in the third game. And also because of the low goals against, because I only let in 5 goals for, actually 4 goals during normal play. Our goal differential beat out all the other teams, and somehow found out an hour and a half later that we had made it to the championship game. And I'm going, are you kidding me? We made it. I was already thinking, okay, my gear was drying outside after the 5:30 game because they had a taco truck and I had to eat tacos. And I figured, okay, my gear's drying out after the 5:30 game. I'm going to pack it, give it back to my teammate. She's going to drive it home and all that stuff. And then lo and behold, guess what? Surprise championship game. And this was a lot of fun because I'm like, wow, I didn't expect to make the championship game, I was playing with a pretty good group of girls, and but it's one of those things when you're up against it's you and 5 other teams, you don't know what's going to happen. Anyway, so to make things even funnier is that the team we were playing against, who honestly shouldn't have been in that division anyway, so we were coming in as severe underdogs. The name of the team is the San Jose Burninator's, and if you are familiar with Homestar Runner, it's the dragon from Homestar Runner, so that's their logo. I was familiar with this team when I played in Las Vegas with another former team, because they were playing back then. It's about 10 years ago, so I don't know what version of the San Jose Burninators were playing, but we were looking at the stats from all the games that they had played, and they were blowing out these teams. Okay, there's one team they beat 7-0. There's another team they beat out 5-0, and then another team they beat 6-1, and that's the only goal that they let in the entire tournament. And that team that scored that one goal was the same team that we defeated 2-0 in the first game. So I'm like, okay, fine. You know what? We're in for a sparring match. This is going to be interesting. That means that one of two things could happen. Now I'm finally getting on to the 405, right? So I'm thinking in my head, okay, one of two things could happen here. Either we're going to get blown out really badly, or this is going to be a fun sparring match. And so, lo and behold, it ended up becoming a really, really fun sparring match. So, one of the things that really helped the team, because in some cases, several members of the Burninators, were skill outmatching our people. I mean, that's no fault of our own. Like I said, if you're blowing out teams 5-0, 7-0, there has to be something up with, the skill level of your team in comparison to the other team. So we're thinking, okay, we have to hold our ground. We got to play some textbook hockey, and just play defense like you normally do, and just cover all your people and leave no open holes. So that's the strategy that the team stuck to. I had to play a little less aggressively than I normally did to make sure that I covered my net, and defense, stayed behind. They were very stay-at-home and a lot of man-to-man play. And surprisingly, in the first period, we scored with 4 minutes left in the first period in a scrum. It was this just pinball machine style scrum, and backhand into short side off the goalie into the net, down low. It was beautiful. And so yeah, that was the first goal of the game. It turned out to be the winning goal. And so we were able to hold down the fort for basically the entire game. By the time the third period came around with 2 minutes left, San Jose calls a timeout, and they pull their goalie. So now they're playing 6-on-5. And one of my teammates is able to get the puck in possession after a face-off win and shoot it into the empty net, scoring, making it 2-0. After all that goes down, we're holding on. This is about a minute and 45 seconds. We had to hang on. With 8 seconds left in the game, and we're leading 2-0. They get a quick break, and they score off the second shot off of a save I made. And with 8 seconds left, they score, so it's 2-1. we hold on for another 8 seconds, and we win as the severe underdogs in this division. And I'm going, are you kidding me? This actually happened. We beat this team. And, you know, I have to say mad props to the San Jose Burnernators, because they really did bring it on. I mean, I had to stop a couple slappers, and there were some pretty good wristers too. And I'm going, are you kidding me? You know, I'm just, yeah. So Bakersfield, the Bakersfield Barracuda, which I kind of laugh about the name, because, you know, when you're in Bakersfield, the closest thing you're going to get to fresh seafood in Bakersfield is Long John Silver's. So I'm kind of like, wow, this is a funny name, but hey, I'm cool with that. So, you know, if the Barracudas ask for a goalie again for travel, I would be more than happy to join these guys. They were a fun group, fun bunch to play with. But to add to the additional joke about this particular team, because it took, from what I understand, it took forever for the tournament organizers to get back to the team rep for Bakersfield. Bakersfield wasn't able to get the amount of players that they needed from their home team to be able to make this tournament. So we ended up, the team rep ended up doing some recruiting. So first off, you know, of course I'm Los Angeles based, and so was my team rep. So team rep calls me up because I've played like 4 or 5 tournaments with her. And so she goes, hey, what are you doing this particular weekend? She gives me the days for the tournament, and I'm like, dude, I'm already up north for vacation. This all worked out, right? But I said, hey, you know, I'm on my motorcycle, so you're going to have to haul my gear up. And so she's totally cool with that, because I found out that she ended up like upgrading her car last time I talked to her. So I'm going, holy crap. So anyway, I give her my stuff, and she brings it up for me. And then there's a conglomerate, about 4 or 5 people from the Bakersfield team. So that is the original Barracuda. And then to add to the fun, ended up picking up a bunch of people from Sacramento. So we have this team made up of members from 3 different parts of the state of California. So we have our LA people, we have our Bakersfield people, and we have our Sacramento people. So when we got to the championship game, I just started laughing about this. So instead of calling it the Bakersfield Condors versus the San Jose Burnernators, I started calling it the state of California versus San Jose. It just made sense. I mean, it sounds like a legal battle, you know. And you know, in the case of the state of California versus San Jose, we find San Jose guilty as charged as, you know. So I had way too much fun with that. But the fact that we were even able to bring all of these people together, and they all worked cohesively, and we all had a great time, and no one had issues with each other. We all got to chill and eat tacos and have pizza and all sorts of other random things. Was just really fun. You know, our group was very mixed. You know, we had we had some moms, we had some old retired people, and older players, and then it just ran the gamut. You know, we had a very eclectic mix of people that, you know, just played hockey, and we just spoke hockey. We did the hockey, and we won. And I'm like, you know, the banner. What happened was, one of my teammates is one of the sponsors for the team, and her shop's logo is on the back of the jersey. So we took the winning banner. It's going to hang at her shop in Bakersfield. I'm like, sweet. So that was really cool, and it's just some fun times. That was my trip. I mean, did I have time to rest at any given point? Probably, but I think I'm weird when it comes to vacations. I know that when people think vacation, they're going to go relax, they're going to go chill, they're going to go do this. But I think now, you know, where I am at my current job, where I'm spending a lot of my time, you know, mentally wasting myself, I need the stimulation when I'm out there, you know, to be able to wake up and do what I want to do and have the fun that I want to have, and hopefully gives me enough fuel and motivation to go back to what I have to go back to and say, hey, you know what, there is something better out there, you can do this. And in all honesty, that's kind of the message that was brought back to me. You know, I didn't go into all of the details in regards to the things that I did in some parts of like San Francisco, which was for me, my return to San Francisco was a bit more personal. and I have reasons behind it, and things like that. But I came to this realization that, you know, there are certain things that you just don't allow to happen in your life. And you know, returning to my normal full-time position, I think that I'm going to be applying many of these things, and really that I've made power moves, and I have a lot of my ducks in a row, and I'm just going to make that happen because you know, there's just so many small-minded people in a very very big space, and the big thing is just having to you know, adjust from these small-minded people. I'm hoping that that will be the case for me too. It's just so, yeah, just a lot of organizational things and just cleaning up and stuff like that. But otherwise, you know, it's just another Monday. I finally just made it past LAX. It's going to be a slow one. If you could check it out here. And yes, I am taking Starbucks orders for. Studio City region. So if there's any caffeinated delectables that you are looking for, I would be more than happy to pick those up. But yeah, it's just it's been nice, you know. I mean, as for the ride going to Northern California and back, it was probably one of the more extreme rides that I've done temperature-wise in several years. Last time I dealt with temperatures of varying levels was back in 2013 when I did my last long-distance leisure ride before all of my stuff started happening in my life. And to think that all of these temperature changes are happening all within the same state, all within basically the middle 2/3 of the state is what, you know, is crazy. You know, I was dealing with temperatures ranging from 48 degrees down, you know, in the San Francisco Bay Area and Petaluma, all the way to 110 degrees in the Central Valley on my way home. I kept thinking, okay, you know, I already had to plan for hot weather, and knowing that I was going to get broiled, but I also had to plan for cold weather, and I could only bring one jacket with me. It got really interesting. So this is me in traffic right now, so just more of that. But, you know, the state of California is a very interesting place, you know, considering that it is the third largest state in the United States, but it is the longest. It is the tallest of the contiguous 48. You know, Alaska is its own monster. But as speaking for California, it's a place where you start down south and you go all the way up north, and you can experience every range of temperatures within a 50 to 60 degree range by just driving up. It's ridiculous. I mean, I was able to simulate a cross-country trip across, you know, a trip across the United States by simply just moving up and down California. Yeah, that's possible. And even like little subtle changes. You know, like leaving on the 405 to the 5 and getting across the Grapevine, temperature spiked from 75 degrees and automatically shot up 20 within a matter of a 5 mile distance. It was surreal, you know. Now the other thing too, and I will add to this, is my trip up to Sacramento on I-5 and going up that way is actually the first time I've ever ridden to Sacramento or even just traveled into Sacramento taking I-5. You know, that was me in Colorado at the ride-in. Oh gosh, yes, Monique, I feel your pain. So, how did I combat that? I was going to throw it in. How did I combat the whole issue with it's 40 degrees and I only have a mesh jacket? The first thing I did was, before I left for my trip, I made sure that I carried my rain liner that goes in my mesh jacket. I made sure I carried that with me. So the first thing that went on was my rain liner. So that would at least give me some sort of like a windproof layer. And then by the time that I was going to leave for San Francisco, my cooling vest, my evaporative cooling vest, had already dried. And because the cooling vest was dry, it was solid. I was able to use that as an additional layer. So I put my dried cooling vest underneath, my jacket with the rain liner, and actually I was okay. It wasn't so bad. My bike has a windshield and has a pretty tall windshield that's electronically adjustable. So I raised the windshield and closed all the vents in my helmet, and I was okay. So yeah, getting into the Bay Area was crazy. Other things too is I posted that really cool picture of me in front of the Golden Gate Bridge off of Spencer Battery. And as I was mentioning too, is with traveling in the Bay Area, and it doesn't matter if you're in a car or if you're on a bike, just layer up, just so that you can just peel off what you need to. But the picture I took at Spencer Battery was actually at 7:30 in the evening. I took that one at 7:30 in the evening. I rode into Spencer Battery, which is it's an old monument where you can get some of the best views of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. And I rode in at like 10:30 in the morning. It was foggy. You couldn't see anything in front of you. So I decided to come back later and then take the picture. So if you want, it's kind of like the marine layer here in LA. If you want to actually see something, wait for the sun to burn everything off and then come back. But yes, it was cold coming in, and things didn't clear up until I rode into San Francisco. Which, trippy enough, there's a tunnel going in to San Francisco toward the Golden Gate Bridge. I didn't realize this, but they had named it after Robin Williams. I thought that was really cool because, as you know, Robin Williams is from the Bay Area. But they named the tunnel entering southbound into San Francisco after Robin Williams. I was like, that is really cool. So, that was a little interesting piece. And so yeah, riding in, going into the Golden Gate. If you're traveling southbound on the 101, north of San Francisco into the Golden Gate, you have to pay. I think that, and just a tip of advice for you, Los Angeles people or anyone in California that uses Fast Track, I found out the hard way that the entire state of California went to Fast Track, which for you out-of-state people, like in Pennsylvania, Maryland, Ohio, and all that, it's basically our version of Easy Pass. So we went to Fast Track, and I didn't realize that I could have brought my transponder with me, and I wouldn't have had to pay any tolls. So note to self, if you are traveling anywhere, make sure you have your Fast Track on you. One of the reasons why I don't carry the Fast Track on my bike is when I'm on the 110 freeway going into downtown LA. It's the way that those devices are designed, they recognize the license plate on the motorcycle, so I don't have to. But in the Bay Area, you have to have the actual device, a little thing that sticks on the window, or I can put it in my top case or something like that, so that it just reads the signal. So because I think like to go into San Francisco via the Golden Gate, I think it's like $7 at least to go in, and then when you leave going northbound, they don't charge. It's only a one-way in. As for bridges, there are multiple bridges in the Bay Area. There's the Golden Gate, which is the most well-known one, but it's funny enough not the most commonly used one, because not everyone comes from the south, and everyone comes from Oakland, East Bay. So the Bay Bridge, the Oakland Bridge, that is the most common one. I actually did not touch the Bay Bridge, because my friend doesn't live in Oakland anymore, so I didn't have to go into Oakland and do that. But I did have to go across the Richmond Bridge, and the Richmond Bridge connects just above San Francisco and into that area going past the bridge. It's kind of like this triangle, and one of the major areas, or one of the major I wouldn't call it a tourist destination, honestly, because if you're there, you're probably there for life. But San Quentin, the jail, is at the end of the Richmond Bridge. So that was interesting. I'm going, oh great. So everyone, so a lot of famous people that are incarcerated for life are hanging out in San Quentin, and I'm going, I just passed a bunch of mass murderers. That's great. Not a tourist trap. I don't recommend it. Oh, speaking of which, too, is the day that I was in San Francisco, Alcatraz was completely clear. It was really nice to see. I was able to see that from Pier 49, so that was really cool. Speaking of which, I did get to go to the Musée Mécanique, which is the free arcade museum that's right in the Fisherman's Wharf. That was a lot of fun. I had to beat someone at X-Men vs. Street Fighter because that is mandatory, and it had been like 10 years since I'd been there, so that was nice too. Like I said, lots of things to do in San Francisco. I mean, I only tapped a small part of it. You know, a lot of just kind of checklist things. I hope to return to San Francisco to have a little bit more fun. But you know, hitting up those major areas. And the beautiful thing about riding a motorcycle is, if you're parking in San Francisco and you park in the designated motorcycle parking, which is the coolest thing about San Francisco, is they have designated motorcycle parking. I'm just like, you know, a total fangirl. You know, it's a motorcycle problem. But it's 35 cents an hour to park anywhere in these stalls. You know, I don't have to pay like a cajillion dollars and get stuck in traffic. I can lane split past everyone, stick myself in a little stall that's specifically spaced out for a motorcycle and pay 35 cents an hour. When this is awesome. So, I mean, like I said, I hope to spend more time in San Francisco. It is expensive to stay within the city. Well, then again, most people, it's expensive to live there as is, but, you know, this the extra bonus of a hockey tournament did kind of cramp in on some time, on the time that I was there, but lots of fun. I also got to visit. Let's see, what else did I get to visit? So Fisherman's Wharf, and so I got my fix of fried clams and clam chowder and all sorts of tasties and some fried squid. Didn't really sit down anywhere. It was kind of it was one of those the stands that they have at the that sell all the stuff on the you know, storefront. So there's that. And then after that, I also got to visit the Apple Store, the big one in Union Square. That thing is huge. It's 2 floors. It's really cool. And of course, I made the boneheaded mistake of forgetting my Apple Lightning cable before I left on my trip. So yeah, I sat there charging my stuff because I was allowed to. They just said, hey, yeah, just unplug one of the iPads and on display and just stick your iPad in there. I'm like, okay. So FYI too, if you're ever stuck somewhere and you happen to be at an Apple store, and the only Apple products that I do that I personally own, the only Apple product I personally own is an iPad Mini 4. But I also have a late 2015 MacBook Pro that's school issued. But that I always bring the plug for. But little point of advice is, if you're ever stuck at you know, in the middle of somewhere else and you forget some stuff from Apple, if you purchase stuff from the Apple Store, you have a 14-day window to return everything, even if you opened it. So that goes for chargers, that goes for cords, that goes for anything. So what I did as a precaution, because I did charge my iPad to like 48%, I went and bought a cord. So I bought a cord. Funny enough, as I ended up not using it. So you know, I'll probably just go back to the Apple Store in Manhattan Beach and return it, and no harm, no foul. But I did have it on me just in case. Aside from that, you know, it's just, I'm still sitting on the freeway, you know, chatting away here. But lots of fun. Another thing too is, if you're in the San Rafael area, there's this really good Puerto Rican restaurant. This is where I went with my friends, and it's right in downtown San Rafael. It's called Soul Food. And when they say soul, it's not like it's not Southern style food. It's Puerto Rican. So soul is spelled like it is in Spanish, like the sun, S-O-L. Soul Food in San Rafael. Amazing Puerto Rican food. When I went there with my buddies, it was packed. You know, so and very tasty. I had the pork chops, very good. So in addition to that, other things that I learned about my time up in the Bay Area is, you know, since a lot of people don't have cars up there, they have these short-term like rentals. It's kind of like Zipcar, but there's more companies doing it. And so, like, you download an app and you'd pick up a car, and you could even remotely, like, unlock and lock the car. And so you rent it for, like, you know, an hour at a time or 30 minutes at a time, and then you just keep, you know, paying as you go. Which is pretty cool, because that's how one of my friends ended up getting to San Rafael, because she doesn't have a car. She just went in, rented, and she ended up having a Mini Cooper and drove it into San Rafael, and then had to drive it back to Berkeley when she was done. I thought that was really convenient. But one of the things, too, that's also trippy is that they do the same thing for scooters. So there's these scooters, like, I forget what it's called, but I think it's called Scoot Cargo. And it's a startup out of San Francisco. I was doing a little bit of research on them. But what they do is they have these scooters, and they have top cases, like, you know, like trunks on the back of them. But the way that they're licensed out, and I think it's just because of, like, the engines that they have, but they're licensed out as mopeds. So you don't require a motorcycle license to have to ride one. So here's your loophole. So people can rent these things for, like, you know, $2 to $3 or whatever, and ride them one way into another hub, and that's how they get around. They rent scooters, and then, you know, they offer the helmets and everything like that. I'm just, like, tripping out over this, because you're realizing, you know, with how congested everything is in the Bay Area. And I'm talking just the Bay Area. I'm not even talking about, like, like, there's a lot more space up in Sacramento. Honestly, Sacramento and the Bay Area need to be like two different countries. If I had to give you an opinion on that. But with how congested everything is in the Bay Area, is being able to rent cars and to rent mopeds to get around town and just, you know, pay as you go. That is like the most trippiest concept I've seen. And I don't know if something like that would, I mean, I can see the one pay as you go with cars. I can see that working with cars in Los Angeles, but I don't know about the moped thing. I think we're a little spaced out, and we're spacious enough that I don't think we can do that. But speaking of which, all the motorcycles are lane splitting past me because, you know, I'm a loser in a cage. But so that was another thing too that I thought was kind of cool about being up in the Bay Area, was that whole thing. And you know, the usual sights, being a tourist, that kind of thing. I mean, I do know that, you know, doing the tourist thing up in San Francisco and in the Bay Area is very much different than actually living there. But, you know, being able to see just what the other section of California looks like, and things like that, is very eye-opening. You know, you realize how different things are. I mean, and I'm just talking about, you know, everything past. There's the Bay Area and Sacramento, but then you forget that there's still another quarter of the state north of that going into Oregon. And even that's more rural. That's all like forests and stuff. And mountains and all sorts of randomness. And then you realize that Reno is only like 120 miles away from Sacramento. It's trippy. You know, so yeah, California is a huge, huge state. You know, being in Los Angeles long enough, you know, you kind of like stick in the drone and you're used to it. But man, you know, when you realize how diverse this state really is, and you could spend your entire life exploring this whole state and not get tired of it. You know, I wish more people would do that, would explore California as it is. I myself have not even taken care of all of that. I know that there's so many areas. I've had the chance to ride up PCH in its entirety. I've had the chance to do that. I haven't ridden the 101 in its entirety, although it kind of ends up at, you know, Oregon. But yeah, you don't realize how diverse this state is when you're stuck in LA all the time. And most people, you know, because of work or because of what they do, you know, they'll fly out, go to a different state, leave the country, do something. But, you know, California is a country in itself. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come back so badly. You know, among other reasons of why, after my time in the Midwest, it's just, you can't replicate this state, because it's a state that in itself is its own country. And I don't mean that just from a, you know, I know some people will say, well, yeah, you know, because the laws suck, but that's neither here nor there. But it is definitely a an interesting place. It's also very hot. Central Valley, holy cow. I don't know how people like survive through that. You know. Because that cooling vest I had, it was crispy by the time I had to re-soak it. And it was really weird. I go through the Central Valley. Oh yeah, sure, it's 110 degrees. I make it to Cupertino, which is just north of that. And, you know, that's the home of digital fruit, i.e. Apple. It's like 98, 99 degrees, you know, hot, going through. And then I make it to Pismo Beach and everything drops to like 75. Wait, really? It's like, it's hot, it's cold, it's hot, it's cold. Make up your mind, people. And I'm going down the same road. Go figure. Oh, anyway, here's my current condition at the moment here. But I'm still stuck on the freeway here. I haven't even like made it to the 10 yet. Just kind of crawling along here. That's why I sit here and talk, because I'm by myself in this 4Runner listening to Bread. Yeah. So. Hey, I'm good with spending time, you know, talking about my trip. You know, I now have something to actually talk about. You know, well, that and then throwing in, hey, you know, surprise championship, yay! You know, it's like it's as if this trip kind of wrote itself, which it kind of did. But and yes, Eleanor's doing quite well. She just hit, on my way home, 193,000 miles, which means that she's still on par with making it to 2018, nearing the 200,000 mile mark. At this point, I'm hoping that she'll make it to the 200,000 mile mark by the beginning of 2018 at this point, unless I magically get some epic motorcycle trip that I have to take because someone told me to, or just because I said screw it, I'm going to do it anyway. She's doing well. I just have to give her an oil change though. So randomly, just out of curiosity for the audience out there, if there's anyone who's an AMSOIL dealer, I think I know a couple people who are AMSOIL dealers, but because I know I can order directly off of AMSOIL, like the website, but I would like to give you the business. But if you're an AMSOIL dealer, I need to buy some oil, so you know, hit me up, please. Really, I could use that because that's the only oil that I use in my bike. At least, pretty much that's the only oil I've used for about 120,000 miles. So if that tells you anything about the longevity and the quality of product, yeah, AMSOIL has been my number one go-to. Yeah, so that's pretty much how the last 6 days have gone in a nutshell. It's been just a lot of up and down, a lot of riding and craziness. My hands are surprisingly not numb, but that's because before I left, I rigged both of my motorcycle grips with padded batting grip to reduce the amount of vibration going into my hands, and it's actually worked. The batting grip is starting to kind of unravel itself, but you know what? It served its purpose, and it was a cheap $8 fix. I can't argue with that. So, but yeah, today Eleanor got the break. I took the car today, and hey, it's fine with me. So, any questions or comments? You know where to put them. I'm gonna see how the rest of this week pans out. You know, there's a lot of cleaning I need to do. My fish tank's overdue for some maintenance, and the rats I gotta clean the rat cage because you know they're kind of looking at me like, why were you gone so long? Sorry. And I gotta give them all treats. So yeah. So right now I am at the Washington Venice exit. I really haven't moved much. Haven't thought of anything else to talk about at the moment, but you know, if any questions, concerns, comments, why the hell do I do this every day, you know, or every week? I'm hoping that this will end soon. As much as I like these video logs, sometimes, you know, I catch myself complaining more than I should. So I'm going to sign off for a little bit here, and you know, have a good day, everybody. Hopefully, the traffic is kinder to you than it is to me right now. I think by the time I get to about the UCLA region, it should start to move, but I've only been on the road for about 50 minutes, so it's not that bad. All right, ta-ta for now. Keep the shiny side up, and hang in there.